Hey everyone, welcome to Quick Serve, presented by Oslo Sleep Buds. I'm Jon Wertheim behind Court 14. Good news, Andy is coming back soon. We will have longer, more in-depth analysis starting next week, but wrapping up week one with our short monologue here. This is quick hits, highlights, storylines, upsets, tracking the tournament day by day. And let's start with the top story from today, which just concluded about 5 minutes ago behind me, and that was Emma Navarro taking out the favorite Coco Gauff. It was just such a professional showing by Emma Navarro, playing Wimbledon for only the second time. She handled the moment. She handled the opponent. It was efficient. It was clean. It strikes me about watching Emma, there is just nothing wasted. No wasted motion, no wasted emotion, no wasted time. She moves well. She strikes the ball well. This is really just efficient, sort of Occam's razor tennis. On the other side of the net, Coco's forehand frankly and flatly broke down. Emma Navarro saw this and clearly picked on it, and that was the difference. Again, very smooth professional match from Emma Navarro, played like a veteran, went to the net 9 times and won all 9 points, served well, moved well, such a fluid player. But the other side of the net, Coco's game was in a bit of disarray. This was a real disappointment for her, with Iga Swiatek going out yesterday. Coco was the highest remaining seed in the eyes of many, self-included, odds makers included. She was the favorite to win, and she's going to be disappointed by this result today, going down in straight sets to another American. As for other action on this seventh day, few rested, and there was rain, as it was written. Once again, we're 7 for 7 in terms of rainy days. I think one thing that does is it sort of lays bare the advantage the top players have playing under the roof, which means you know when your match is going to be, you know the court, the idiosyncrasies of the court, and you don't have to worry about on again, off again. But one thing that comes with playing on these covered courts on grass, they get slippery, and that was a storyline today. Kicking off the day, Carlos Alcaraz took on Hugo Humbert of France, the French lefty, whose game is very grass friendly. For 2 sets, this was the Carlos show, the usual mix of spectacular and steady, and bailed himself out when necessary. And then sort of the match took on mechanical bull characteristics. Carlos was broken 3 times in the third set, 3 times in one set for the defending champion, lost that 6-1. It was sort of, whoa, broken again in the fourth. Struggled, but this is a man of many gears, and we got to see him bail himself out of trouble. We saw survival instincts. We saw drop shots. He was pretty much smiling throughout. It reminds us that, this is still a young player, but there's still a lot that is polished here. And he dropped 2 sets in his previous match against Francis Tiafoe, came back and won, dropped a set today, hardly at his best, but came out to win in 4 and came out all smiles. As he was playing on center court, Madison Keys was on court 1, taking on Jasmine Paolini. This was a nice contrast of a power player versus slick movement. That occurred to me, sometimes they alternated roles. Sometimes Madison Keys moved way better than perhaps she's given credit for, and sometimes Jasmine Paolini at 5'4" executed her shots with a lot more power than she's given credit for. This was a fun match for the first 2 hours or so. Paolini won the first. Madison Keys had a nice fight back. She was up 5-2 in the third, and then bad things happened. She did not serve out the match, and then age 29, she suffered what looked to be a hamstring injury. She did not come to press, so we do not have confirmation on that, but she was immobilized, and she was unable to complete the match. Tearfully at 5-all, barely able to move. She went to the net to shake hands. It was really pretty excruciating to see. Don't want to editorialize too much. This is one of the good eggs, Madison Keys, well-liked and well-regarded. She had a real chance to win this tournament, and just a pity. On the other side of the net, credit Paolini, who she turned 28 years old. This is not a young player. She had not won a match at Wimbledon before this year. Now she is in the quarterfinals after winning 6 matches and getting to the finals at the previous major. A bit of a breakthrough for her. Jannik Sinner played the same day as Carlos Alcaraz. We had the same barometer, the same scenario at the French Open and Roland Garros. Same side of the draw, and it was sort of these 2 guys destined to meet at the semis. Could see how they fared against the other. Today, Sinner played Ben Shelton and played Ben Shelton quite well. This is the 4th time these guys have played in the last year. Ben Shelton actually beat Sinner in Shanghai, which, whether this is correlation or causation, was sort of the beginning of Jannik Sinner as we know him. After that match, he's barely been touchable. And that was, again, the case today. A solid veteran performance. Ben Shelton had his opportunities. But
but wasn't able to capitalize, and Jannik Sinner wins in tight sets. Side note on Ben Shelton, played a 5-setter yesterday on Saturday, played 2 sets of doubles, so 7 sets of tennis a day before he was supposed to play the number 1 seed on a show court. I don't think fatigue or injury played a role in this defeat today. He just, he's not there yet, but no rush, 21 years old. He ought to leave with his head high, Ben Shelton. And meanwhile, Jannik Sinner moves on to what is looking like this inexorable semifinal against his rival, Carlos Alcaraz. Emma Raducanu played as well today, and there were obviously questions about her given the wrist injury that caused her to withdraw from the mixed doubles with Andy Murray. I'm not sure the wrist was a factor. Like so many players, she slipped on the wet grass and needed treatment to her back, and she faced Lulu Sun. I'm doing this without notes. Let me see if I can get this right. She is a Chinese mother, a Croatian father, born in New Zealand, grew up in Switzerland, played at the University of Texas. A woman of the world. She's also a really good tennis player. This lefty baller who takes big cuts on both sides and moves really well on the grass. She had to qualify just to get in the main draw, as Emma Raducanu said presciently, and perhaps reflecting on her own Grand Slam title run at the U.S. Open 3 years ago. Qualifiers are dangerous. They're in form, and that was Lulu Sun. She looked very comfortable both on the big stage on grass, playing a touted opponent in her home country, and Lulu Sun did not flinch. 52 winners on the day. This is not necessarily a physically imposing player, but again, big risks, big cuts, a lot to like. Very flashy lefty game, fun to watch, and she wins 6-2, 5-7, 6-2, closed it out. So she is into the quarterfinals as a qualifier. Other matches, Medvedev got past Grigor Dimitrov, yet another slip and fall. Grigor broke to start the match and took an early lead. Medvedev clawed his way back, and then 8 games in, it looked like Grigor slipped and hurt his groin and retired down 5-3. They didn't even get in a set. So Medvedev advances, much like Jasmine Paolini, not necessarily the way he wanted to. He next plays Jannik Sinner. They've had their battles, but if nothing else, Daniil Medvedev ought to come in fresh on Tuesday for that match. Let's do a random factoid. I don't have anything prepared or written down, so I will tell you that Wimbledon has prioritized spreading the gospel of grass court tennis. This is a tentpole event of tennis, and why not try to get as many people playing as possible? So they have stitched in artificial grass on the practice courts to see if players notice. So far, they haven't. So these practice courts, and they're not telling the players always which courts they are about 5% artificial grass, 95% of the regular ryegrass. The hope here is that we can replicate Wimbledon quality grass and maybe have more grass courts throughout the world. It doesn't seem as though players are noticing the difference. Let's look ahead to tomorrow, shall we? I'll call up the schedule here and say that on center court, Elena Rybakina, who is now definitely the favorite on the women's side, the champion here 2 years ago, she plays Kalinskaya. Taylor Fritz against Zverev. They play fairly similar styles. They've split their last 6 matches. That's thought to be a good one. And Holger Rune against Djokovic. Another potential mousetrap match. Holger Rune has had some success against Novak Djokovic. We will see which Novak Djokovic shows up, the one who looks spry and anything other than 37 and knee injured, or the player who at some points has looked a little bit ginger on the court, but I know Novak will be the favorite against Holger Rune on court 1. Arthur Fils, the young Frenchman, against Alex de Minaur. Yulia Putintseva, fresh off beating Iga Swiatek, plays fellow pugnacious player Yelena Ostapenko. That ought to be fun, just from the sense of combativeness. 2 players who very much enjoy the battle. Speaking of enjoying the battle, Danielle Collins rounds up court 1 against Barbara Krejcikova. That will do it. Again, Andy will be here. We will have longer, more in-depth discussions. These are just filibusters. These are just monologues. We will have longer discussions when there are 2 of us working the booth. That will happen soon. Meanwhile, enjoy second Monday from Wimbledon 2024. I'm Jon Wertheim. This was a Quick Serve podcast presented by Oslo Sleep Buds. See you tomorrow.